evening. I'd like to call this meeting, or good afternoon, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk, if you'll call our roll, please.
Councilor Graney?
Here.
Councilor McNabb?
Here.
Councilor Smith?
Here.
Councilor Brower? Here. Mayor Quill?
Here. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I would ask the clerk to read our rules and regulations for the public to be heard.
At this time, we will open the public to be heard portion of our meeting. As a reminder and pursuant to council rules of procedure, prior to addressing council, speakers are asked to state their name, address, and affiliation, if any. All questions and comments should be addressed to the entire council and not to individual staff members. Your remarks must be limited to 3 minutes and concern only issues involving the city council, city government, or matters of general city concern. Any issues involving specific employees of the city should be directed to the city manager outside of the meeting, and all speakers before council should observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy. Personal attacks or abusive language will be ruled out of order.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone desiring to be heard? Please step to either podium. Mr. Delastrito, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Don Delastrito. I live at 6475 Town Hall Road, Senate, Auburn, New York. I've been a resident, born and raised in Auburn, owned property in Cuyahoga County, owned property on the Seneca River where the Wasco outlet empties out, and currently live in Senate. Currently on city water. Came to my area 3 years ago or so. Didn't need it because I had 3 wells, but I got it anyhow because it's the right thing to do. Currently, in the town of Aurelius, these 2 ladies sitting in front of me live on a family farm, their family's farm. They cannot drink their well water, as we all know, because the water in Aurelius is polluted and has been polluted by chemicals that were put there from somewhere, somehow, somewhat. Aurelius got city water because of the wells being contaminated by chemicals that, I don't want to put any names on it, but by chemicals that were from the fact, well, by chemicals. Okay. They've got city water now. Their aunt, her grandmother, Zella, was probably drinking out of the 30-foot well like everybody else was in those days, and drinking clean, pure water. Alright, that water got polluted. Onondaga Lake got very polluted. We're currently spending millions of dollars to clean up Onondaga Lake. We have in this area one of the cleanest lakes in the country and one of the dirtiest lakes in the country. We have Skaneateles 8 miles away. We have Onondaga 20 miles away. We have Wasco Lake that runs through the whole county. The river runs through the city. The river runs into the Seneca River. The Seneca River runs into and now your knee bone is connected to your shin bone, and so on and so forth. I can't understand why we as people in the 21st century want to dump chemicals in fresh water or in groundwater. I just don't get the logic of it. Today we're trying to clean up stuff that was done 50, 60 years ago, not talking about the Hudson River and what they're doing up there in Troy from Jiggy and whatnot. But we're trying to clean up stuff that we polluted 50 years ago, and yet we still think as a society we can dump more chemicals into our water and get $1 for it and balance a budget for it and be okay with it. I just don't think it's the right way to go. If we want to balance a budget, and I've got to say something funny real quick. Chief, I'm glad you're doing duty tonight because it's probably not costing us overtime. You know, and there's a lot of people who want to talk and I could go on, but we just can't be. It's fresh water, folks. It's the commodity we have. I'm on the beach in North Carolina. A guy from the south says, "Yeah, I was up in New York State once. Spent a winter up there." I said, "What do you remember about it?" He says, "I said, the snow?" He goes, "No, you guys have the best drinking water."
Thank you. we'll go one side against the other, just make it a little bit easier for everyone. Please.
Hello, my name is Susan Galbraith. I live at 71 Perrine Street in Auburn. I work for an Ithaca-based engineering firm, and I used to work as a contractor to the US EPA studying radon. At the time I was working with radon, we realized that it was the radioactive material in the shale underlying the central portion of New York State that caused very high radon levels in homes. And when there are wells drilled through or into that radioactive material, it is very logical that that is going to come back up to the surface. I'm concerned about the inability of basically any treatment plant I can imagine to remove that material. And I read the input from the manager of the treatment plant. I hope that you will think very seriously about banning not only fracking water, but any recovered water from wells. Fracking is a subset of what's happening. We have in Madison County, where my parents have a farm, considerable amount of drilling happening now, and the wells create brine and they create recovered water from the material that's put into the ground. It's not the horizontal hydrofracking everybody is talking about, which is high volumes of water. It is lesser volumes, but I don't think that the chemistry is particularly different. It's a matter of quantity. So I hope that the city will think very carefully about banning this practice. I appreciate the need for revenue, but I think that it's a dangerous game to play to think that because the levels are currently low when they run test procedures, that I think it's difficult to imagine that they're catching all of the potential chemicals, particularly when the drilling companies are not required to provide their recipes for fracking water to the state or to the municipality. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thought of this a minute ago. Many of you, this is your first time ever being to our city council meeting, our public to be heard. During this portion of the meeting, there will be no responses from the council or myself. This is for us to take the information on. There will be no debate. There will be no answers to any of the questions posed to us. So just keep in mind that we're not rude, will not answer you, just the way this portion of the meeting is set up. Okay? Sir.
My name is Ross Horowitz, and I live in Danby, New York, which is just south of Ithaca. And I'm a member for the last 18 months or so of a group called the Gas Drilling Task Force, which is part of the town board. And during this period, I've tried to inform myself of what are the issues involved. And as the complexity grows, it becomes clear to me that it's not a local issue anywhere. As a matter of fact, the only analogy I can come up with is that as the issue affects every form of political and social and economic life and ecological life in the area, it's more like a cancer. And I view the situation here with a water treatment plant of some substance which is unable to do what it's supposed to do for this material as a tumor. And when I think of it that way, it concentrates, but it still shows how this impacts the whole area. And what's thrilling to me to realize is that in New York State, where we have extremely limited home rule, that I'm new up here, and Auburn to me is a beautiful city, and I guess everyone in this room is a caretaker of this city for this time. You have the opportunity to exert some home rule. You have the opportunity to do things right here so that when the situation is passed on to the next generation, they can look back and see that the right thing was done. So as the science has unfolded, as information has come out, issues that were done perhaps well-intentioned but without complete knowledge in the past, you have an opportunity, I understand, to change it and reverse the course and stop accepting this stuff. Thank you very much. of here, north of Holland Island, on a little lake called Duck Lake. I have 3 sisters that live throughout the Finger Lakes. I grew up south of Rochester. My ancestors have been there over 200 years. And what we're addressing here is a moral as well as a political issue. I was a pre-med prior to the service. And one of the things I learned at the University of Rochester is trace amounts of various chemicals, herbicides, insecticides, and so on and so forth lead to cancer. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I drove up Route 38 after visiting the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on Memorial Day, of course. And we live in one of the most beautiful areas of the world. I studied the Russians. I've lived in Moscow. I've lived in Latin America briefly. And I was lucky. I didn't have to go to Vietnam. I was a medic outside of Washington from 63 to 65. When I moved up here, I have a master's degree in political science from the University of Maryland. I tried to run for county legislature in Onondaga County in 1983, and I've been involved in congressional politics. When we moved up here, my wife is from Syracuse, somebody said, Onondaga County is going to grow and grow and grow. And I said, I don't know what I said so long ago, but ye gads. Growth, we're crazy when it comes to growth. I realize jobs are important for people, and I have sympathy for any family that needs a job, but there's much more involved than that. I'll finish it up. I could go on for a long time. I spoke out in Fort Lauderdale when they wanted to put a 4th airstrip. And somebody on their legislative staff said, well, in 7 more years we're going to have more hotels. Well, you people are leaders, or if you are leaders, you will not think in terms of the immediate future. You will think in terms of 100 years, 200 years. We have done more damage to the environment of this country since World War II than the Native Americans did in 10,000 years. You ought to think about that, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'll let it go at that.
Marilyn Dillo, and I live at 2969 Route 34B in Aurora, and Auburn is my hometown. I grew up here. I played in the lakes. I went to Emerson Park. I dare date myself and say I rode the rides at Deauville Island. I went fishing on the Central River with my dad. I went to the libraries here, walked the streets. I love this city. And so I'm concerned about whether we're going to put to risk our futures and our water. And I'm asking the council and the mayor to vote for the moratorium so that we can figure out what we're going to be doing. If you need time, then do the moratorium and then get your answers. I ask that of you, but I'm not asking it alone because I have the petitions here. We have over 750 petitions now. We submitted 500 to you in the past. We will be getting more. And I can dare say we could have done 4 times this easily if we weren't working full-time jobs as well and getting out there on the streets and talking to people and educating. We could easily have had so many more signatures. So I present this to the council. And I ask you again to please support the moratorium. While you research what you need to find out, I would hope that you could do at least that for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Lattimore, County Legislator for the 13th District, which is part of. Live at 63 South Street, one of the historical districts in this great city. For those people who haven't been to Auburn before, prior council, which I was a member of, we put in geothermal in this building. Our fire and police stations got geothermal. We pushed hard for the county the college, they have geothermal. Our new BOCES is state-of-the-art geothermal. We push a lot of energy projects in the county. I'm chairman of the Power Authority in the county, and we are putting in a 20-mile pipeline that's going to collect all the methane and bring it to a genset and hopefully pipe that energy in our industrial development areas. Council has been very active in regards to trying to protect the environment. On the county level, we've put together all the governmental agencies around the lake to make sure that the lake is protected. So we are very environmentally sensitive. I've already signed the petition to not accept the frack water. I don't believe that the industry is telling us the truth about what's in the water, and until they do, we shouldn't accept it. Thank you.
Beth Cuddy, 130 North Street, Auburn. I'm here tonight to speak about the monitoring and disposal of the gas drilling wastewater at the Auburn sewage plant. As you are aware, the city cited 6 companies for failure to comply with plant regulations. For over a year, these companies dumped wastewater at our plant without submitting monitoring reports. A review of discharge records show that these companies disposed waste from wells not listed on their permits. According to the permits, the companies are required to submit lab analysis for any unlisted wells. This was not done. The city has required the gas drilling companies to submit certificates a year after the fact, stating that the wastewater do not come from the Marcellus Shale, where slick water hydraulic fracturing is used to extract the gas. Although our position has always been that there is no such thing as good gas drilling wastewater, what is the gas company's incentive not to dump such water? We know Talisman discharged frack water in 2008 at the Auburn plant from Frost F2 well in Schuyler County, according to a letter that the company submitted to the DEC. The company continues to discharge wastewater from Frost wells located in the same place as F2 at our plant. The DEC and EPA have left it up to the city to monitor the situation, and the city is relying on the gas companies to provide the necessary reporting and analysis, which they didn't do for over a year. It's like the old saying, the fox is guarding the hen house. As more avenues are closed to these gas drilling companies to dispose of their waste, where are they going to turn? The Ohio EPA recently banned the intake of brine water at wastewater treatment plants over concerns that the toxic salty water would alter the ecology of rivers and streams. PA plants can't take it anymore. What is to prevent gas companies from using our plant to their advantage? We are one of 2 in the state, in the entire state, to do this. If it is so safe, why wouldn't everyone take advantage of this opportunity to make money? We have such willing and eager customers at our doorstep. Your own employee lamented the lack of radiation testing that is being done to ensure against water contamination in a paper published by the neighbors of Onondaga Nation. When Bruce Ross was asked, how can every load of waste that goes through be examined as thoroughly as it should be, he answered, it's tricky. And I think the reason most places don't take it is because it's a nightmare to try and control. Well, it's time Auburn woke up. It's time to put an end to this practice.
Good afternoon, and thank you for letting us speak. I'm actually from Ithaca, New York, and I want to unofficially say that I represent a lot of people that would have been here if it wasn't for the Ithaca Festival.
We need your name for
my name is Faye Gugakis. I just wanted to give you a little background. I'm originally from New York City, and I love New York City's drinking water. And in solidarity with New York City, and being from Ithaca, New York now, and having originally come to this area to go to Wells College, this area all these areas are very important to me. Not only are they beautiful, but the water is very important. So I'm here to tell you not to stop taking the hydrofracking fluid. For the very reason that plants cannot take it. Plants cannot take this material. They're not equipped for that. So many experts, including Walter Hang, who spoke earlier, who's an expert in Ithaca, New York, plants cannot take this. And as well as if you're taking this fluid for a long period of time, it also destroys a plant after a while. Another expert said that, whose name I can't remember, and I should have had that ready. The important thing about this vote tonight is that it sends a message. If you say no and you stop taking this hydrofracking fluid, it would help other communities in our state. We have to say no to this process because otherwise it's going to keep coming this way. And the way to stop it is by communities like you not to accept the fluid. It's communities all over the state saying we're banning hydrofracking. Now Ithaca is now considering a ban on hydrofracking. We haven't done it yet, but we hope to do that soon. Pittsburgh has banned hydrofracking, Buffalo, New York has banned hydrofracking, and other communities will be banning hydrofracking. We need this to happen. Even if it's symbolic in many ways, it needs to happen. But in your case, that water, that fluid is going to contaminate the water supply. So for the sake of the future, for the sake of everybody's health, for the sake of the environment, for the sake of saying that message to companies that are not revealing the chemicals, companies that have operated very destructively. In fact, on the way up with my friends, we were listening to a radio program, Chunk of the Nation, and they were talking about how it's hard for the companies dread New York State, because New York State has all these regulations, how it's easier for them to do it elsewhere. So that alone tells you a whole lot. It's like, yeah, we have regulations. We want regulations, and we don't want you coming here messing with our water or our land or our air. So this is, I want to say that I know the economy is tough. That is something that you do not create. The energy policies are something that you do not create. Somebody else misled us. The war that's going on in the Middle East has bankrupted our country. The banking system, which was deregulated, has bankrupted our country. So now everybody's falling on their knees, desperate to sell their land, without realizing what they have sold, who they sold their land to. So I beg you to not take this water. I know the the fluid. I know that times are difficult, but I really believe that Auburn could be better off without this fluid.
I would ask you to wrap it up.
Okay. And the other thing, too, is, we have farming up here, and farming is our bread and butter, and we have tourism. But the farms put meals on our tables. We cannot pollute the water, and we cannot pollute the air. So, basically, thank you for letting me speak, and just so you know that other people are watching you, not just people in Auburn. In Ithaca, we're watching you. All over New York State, we're watching you. And we need you to say no, because that will set the path for other communities to follow suit. Thank you.
I live on 35 Charles Street in Auburn, and I won't tell you how long I've lived in Auburn. I was born here, so I've lived here all my life. I have a little different thing to talk about here, other than water, which we have clean, abundant, pure water in the entire upstate New York. New York is very fortunate. But everybody here is here for one reason, because they want to protect the water. Water is ours. It belongs to all of us. It is a common, like the air. You cannot own it. You cannot do anything. It is a commons, and it belongs to all of us. We have entrusted you to take care of our water. We have entrusted you to protect our watershed so that our water is pure. From all of the water all over that belongs to the people, We're very fortunate. There's 2 billion people in this world who don't have access to clean drinking water. All I'm saying is, I would think that all the people here would agree that they are not giving you permission to get an income from the $600,000 that you get from treating water from vertical gas wells, because that's not the kind of money we'd like to make. And talk about income. One of the most important renewable resources in this world, in this country that we have not looked at, is conservation. To conserve everything, that kind of renewable energy will create jobs, it will take care of people, and it will start us on a different path for our future. I just would like you to consider that we aren't giving you, at least I am not giving you permission to touch my water or anyone else's water.
My name's Jim Baker, 2526 Emerson Road, Reedsport, New York. I live on the Seneca River. My well is only 60 feet deep, and there's a fear factor that I'm dealing with right now with my well water. There was a city engineer that put a plant out near me on Baker Road that promised it was going to digest digestibles, and it is now abandoned and just laying to do whatever it wants to do without anybody keeping an eye on that plant. And I see this happening more and more. Reading Time magazine that just came to my house and studied The Science of Optimism, on the inside page is an ad from ExxonMobil about hydrofracking. And I want to read a line that's in there that they put in their own ad. It says, "We are continuing to work with the industry to develop best practices for the safe handling of produced waters." Are we part of their experiment in Cayuga County? They don't know what to do with this wastewater. They find somebody that will accept it. They pay them handsomely to accept that water, and they're done with it. It's out of their hands, and it's on our hands now. I don't want it in my well, off the Seneca River, flowing out of this aquifer that we deal with here. Because that is, I don't have municipal water, nor where I live am I ever going to see municipal water. So I really have a huge concern of how this is taken care of. I don't think we are the responsible people that have the right equipment to be part of their experiment. So if there's anything you can do to stop this practice, we would all appreciate that.
two little ones in Auburn who aren't here tonight. I know you've heard over and over again how important water is. And I know that everybody, it's a lot of information to soak in, it really is. And that's why I'm here to just ask you. I know you have to educate yourself.
Could you pull that microphone just real quick? Thank you.
I know you have to educate yourself on what's going on in Auburn. It's a lot to go through. I'm still learning more every day. I completely understand it. In fact, I go to night school. I opted out of summer classes because I want to know what's going on in Auburn and what's going on for my children. That being said, I am pleading the council to please put a moratorium on accepting any more water, or fluid is a more accurate term for it, until your studies are done. Because it's not just how dangerous the water is. I know we need the money. I know we do. But how much did it cost last time just to upgrade our facility? Not to outbuild it, just to upgrade it. This is a municipal water waste treatment facility. It is not an industrial wastewater treatment facility. It can't handle it. If we're going to put this fluid through our system, we might as well put kerosene in the cop cars. We might as well put diesel in our cars. We might as well put, you know, it just can't handle it. And how much will it cost us to replace that? I don't want this driving down my road. I don't want a truck spilling on my street. It's not just, will it end up in the outlet? It's, will it hurt a city worker that's trying to handle this? It's just like my grandfather said, you can't unring a bell. I don't want to look back in 20 years. I don't want to look at my kid. I don't want to just look at our beautiful lake and say, I knew it was going to happen. I don't want to do that. In Auburn, we should be known for William Stewart and Harriet Tubman. Well, Auburn's looking at what's happening tonight. The county's looking at what's happening tonight. And thanks to the New York Times posting what they did, the state and the entire world is looking at us tonight. What do we want to be known for? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Barron. I'm 17 years old. I live in Auburn, and I'm a junior at Auburn High School. I live on South Hunter, which is just a little ways up from Hoops Park. And my entire life, I've been very environmentally aware. My mom has always been one big for recycling, and we've always had the cloth bag lunches and the metal water bottles before it became like the hip new thing. So I've always been that kind of environmentally aware person. And we've always had like really clean water here, and my grandparents live in California, in Northern California, where it's really, really dry there. So they get they get fires, and it's really dry. So whenever they get rain, it's always it's a blessing to get rain there. And we always are told, like when we go visit them, that we should be taking short showers so that we don't waste the water. So it's just a great thing to have clean water here. And it's kind of a privilege that we don't always realize that we have it. So because my grandparents live in California and we always have to be really careful about how much water we use there, I'm kind of been aware of how nice it is to have clean water here to use. So it would just be kind of a shame to grow up and if I end up staying in Auburn and having kids, it would just be sad to be raising my kids in a place where there isn't necessarily as clean water as I grew up with. And it's always been nice to say that Auburn has really clean water, so it would just be kind of, it would make me feel kind of bad to say, well, I had really nice water when I was little. I'm sorry that you guys don't get to grow up with the same thing. So I just thought it'd be nice to think about that and think that as a younger generation, it's a concern for us as well.
I'm Dr. Mary Beth Carlberg from Skinny Atlas, family practitioner, and I'm a terrified public speaker, but I'm only here to lend credence to this plea. As you probably know, the Onondaga County Medical Society and physicians in general have supported a ban on hydrofracking. It's irrefutable, the toxicity to us, to our environment. There's no taking it back. It's irrefutable, and in fact, Mary had put together a conference at Upstate at the Grand Rounds, and my former resident pediatrician who's speaking around the country on this said that one of these chemicals is discharged that will kill a fish in a concentration that is too low to even measure. There are so many implications we don't yet know, and hopefully we will never know. But I'm only here to give credence from the medical community, because sometimes I feel like people like this, we get viewed as some hippie, extremist, paranoid environmentalists, and we're just here because we really don't understand. We've read too many Greenpeace articles, but this is more than that, and it's in your hands. And as she said, the whole area is watching, and we can't be an experiment.
My name is Diane Miller. I live at 33 Meadowbrook Drive in Auburn. I don't have a lot to say. What I would like to say is my sister and her husband live in Bradford County, PA. They have been living in this hell for a number of years now. They raise grass-fed beef. Their farm is at risk. They are all over their property. They have torn it apart. They don't sleep at night. The noise, the lights, the traffic is horrible. They live way out in the sticks, way out in the sticks. It has torn their life apart. My brother also has property there. We used to visit it. It is not what it used to be. The sludge ponds are terrible. They're contaminated. The cattle are at high risk. Their life is at risk. We cannot bring this water in. What they have learned, what we have learned is you cannot trust at all what you are being told is coming in as far as the chemicals in that water. You cannot trust them. We can't bring it in. It may be here already. You cannot get these chemicals out of this water. You cannot. You cannot remove it later. Once it's in, it's here to stay. I hope you will put a moratorium on while you get the facts if you need more facts. And hopefully this will not happen anymore in Auburn or any other place. Thank you.
My name is Bill Hecht. I've lived here all my life. I'm a retired farmer and been watching this issue for over 35 years.
We need your address for record, Mr.
Union Springs. As a geologist, I've drilled and fracked wells here in Cuba and Seneca counties. I would advise extreme caution if you and a moratorium. People talk of it. You don't know what it is right now. The DEC doesn't know what it is. They have a legal right to ask for that information, that confidential information. For some strange reason, they are not availing themselves of that right to ask for what it is. We heard from, I believe, Mr. Baker downstream. That raises some very interesting legal questions of riparian owners downstream and the city's liability of discharging into the Wasco outlet possibly years down the road. Don't bet on your lawyers knowing the answers. Don't bet on the DEC knowing the answers. My experience with DEC for many, many years, including in the gas business, is they don't know what they're doing because they're not collecting the data, they're not analyzing the data. They show no willingness to properly look at this issue. Don't count on the DEC. I would just wrap it up by saying I would strongly suggest you put a hold to this, put a moratorium on it. And this is coming from one that's already done it. As a second, also I'd like to point out is that frack water and drilling waste is sitting all over this county in the wells that have already been drilled. Every well that's been drilled in this county has a mud pit next to it. And we don't know what's in that and where it's going. And also another minor point, we already are disposing of frack water and wastewater through a brine well that's located just outside the village of Cayuga. And that because this DEC never does their homework and their consultants never do their homework, that well may have been, from my research, may very well be sitting on 2 vertical faults. My experience with DEC is not a happy experience of them doing their homework. Don't count on them.
most of my family. I find it interesting. For one thing, to begin with, I think it's just great that so many people here are on a common cause, and that cause is water. It's something that runs in our veins. Someone earlier mentioned a moral issue, and that's been on my mind a lot lately. It appears to me that looking back, when I've been approached many times by gas well drillers and Chesapeake and the various other people out there, not to mention a name in vain, but in any case, I found it interesting that they never mentioned Marcellus Shale to me. I turned down a fat 5-digit check because I wanted to do more homework on it, and I'm very glad that I did. Found out that there's a lot of things I wasn't being told, and I think that's just sort of a track record that seems to come through in this industry. I think it's virtually impossible to be able to keep track of knowing where all those trucks come from. Were they actually monitored what was going in and what goes into the sewage treatment? It's too big of a thing to watch. So instead, perhaps, we have a great opportunity to put a moratorium on this gas industry and turn around and start making jobs into solar, wind, make things happen that can actually create jobs in our area, and also resolve a lot of the problems that we will likely face down the road. And looking a great deal down the road, if we continue on this path, I'm concerned that we're going to wind up with Onondaga Lake 2 in the Owasco River, the Seneca River, the Oswego River, Lake Ontario, and on down through. So let's try to put a stop to this. And I hope that in your wisdom you will do so.
Hi, my name's Rick Estes, and I'm from Skaneateles, New York, or actually in Montville, just outside of Skaneateles, but I grew up in Skaneateles Falls, right near the Stauffer chemical plant, which became a huge, huge problem over there. As kids, we never knew what we were playing in the creek over there and everything, but as time evolved and people found out what happened, they found out not only were the factories dumping things into the stream over there, but many things were buried not only there, but on Depot and Taylor Road, which contaminated wells, which later on had to be taken care of by putting in water lines that cost the municipality money. And not only that, knocked real estate prices right into the toilet. You couldn't give a house away in those areas at one point in time. Now that's since been corrected, but it costs millions of dollars to do that. So just think about all the real estate, and some of the most valuable real estate around is on waterways, and how that real estate will eventually be affected if all of a sudden the Owasco Outlet and the Seneca River and the Oswego River and Lake Ontario are all contaminated with this fluid. We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of revenue in real estate alone that could be seriously affected by this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Amy Fisher-Arceo. I'm not a resident of Auburn anymore. I grew up here. My parents live on South Third Avenue. My mother was a public school teacher here for many years. I'm a landscape architect. I design public parks and resided in Philadelphia for about almost 8 years, working on public parks and building stormwater treatments into those systems. A very expensive undertaking. The city of Philadelphia spent millions of dollars trying to just get some small particulates out of their surface water in order to enhance the treatment system and save taxpayers money on that treatment. What I wanted to say here today, though, and besides my understanding of the basic issues and my support of protecting the water and seeing it as an economic investment to prevent this wastewater dumping, is that so much of what has been stated by the energy companies that want to come in here is that this is a matter of national interest, that this is a matter of economic salvation. And we are a small part of that story. But I would like to say, because on 2 occasions in this country, my family has been the victim of the economic recession. My family has lost a family business during the 90s, during the early 90s when the first economic recession hit. And then again in 2008, we were relocated because of another loss. And just as this is a crisis that we face as individuals, and it would be easy to rise up and say we have to do whatever it takes to solve this problem, I'd like to say for all the victims of the economic recession, please do not do this in our name. Please do not do this in the interest of economic interest, because the facts don't add up and the long-term strategy is not in place. So please don't do that.
Mayor, Acting City Council, Standard City Manager, people who need to leave. Council, thanks a bunch for having us here tonight. My name is Walt Diekman. I live at 17 Liberty Street here in Auburn. Lived here for 20 years. My great uncle built a house right around the corner from me in the early 1900s, and my family moved up into Central New York 100 years before that. And we always liked to hunt, fish, and get outdoors as much as we could. And, you know, there's all new language we have to learn here, all new vocabulary, new practices. But really, I agree with some of the earlier speakers. It comes down to a difference between right and wrong, and having the courage to do what's right. Now, think of some of the things we've heard tonight, like about how these chemicals seem to pass through our plant. Our plant, by the way, which is one of the best in the state, is staffed by excellent people who love our river and love our community as much as we do, and they've been put in a very difficult situation. Why these chemicals seem to just pass right through this plant like this. Now there's words that we all know in this room that weren't part of our vocabulary when folks my age or a little older were kids. Think of these words you all know. Words like acetaminophen, ibuprofen. Some of us who are a little older know what Coumadin is. How about a COX-C inhibitor? Antiretroviral drugs, chemotherapy, or even antidepressants. Most of us have people in our lives who have been affected by, especially in some of the more serious categories of these everyday pharmaceuticals. The thing I'm trying to get to you is that when you and I use this stuff, it goes through us, and it goes into the water that we flush, and it passes right through the sewage treatment plants. Not just here, everywhere in the state of New York and across the country. We call these pharmaceuticals and personal care products, the PPCPs. These are widely recognized by wastewater engineers and scientists, biologists. We have measurable quantities of these chemicals in our fish, in our ecosystem, in our wetlands, and in our waterways. We're not immune from the connections in this natural ecosystem, and those chemicals come back to us, and they affect us. We have these drugs in our lives because we want to make ourselves feel better, or we want to save a life. We don't really mean to hurt anybody. So the state of New York, like every other state in this country, they don't know what to do about this. So we have a campaign that's sponsored by our own New York State DEC. It's called Don't Flush Your Drugs. So we're asking the retirement homes and the hospitals and the pharmacies, don't flush those piles of tablets down the drain, because your sewage treatment plants are not designed to remove it. You need what's called tertiary technology to do it. Reverse osmosis, activated charcoal filtration. It can be done, but it costs millions to do it. And those chemicals that are in this gas wastewater, they go right through the plant. Our plant is not designed to deal with those chemicals. So we have acknowledged from our own staff the unfortunate reality that radionuclides are going through our plant into the river. And we're told that it's okay because they're in such small quantities. But we now know from science and personal experience that the solution to pollution is not dilution. And I've got a number for you of what an acceptable level of intentional radionuclide disposal is in our river. And that number is 0. So what about the courage part of it? Right now, those of you who aren't from here don't know that when we come down to pay our water bill, we pay a lot because 15 years ago we had to borrow more than $50 million to fix this sewage treatment plant and the entire infrastructure. And we got done with that, and the state said, you know what, Auburn? Good job, good enough for us. And the county said, no, it's not good enough. Because under the terms that DEC said, we could still dispose of non-disinfected waste in the river. And so we sat down and we borrowed another $5 million so we would never send poopy water down the river again without having it being disinfected. That took a lot of courage. And who were these radicals who did this? You know, some young Turk who was mayor at the time, a guy named Guy Cosentino, a Republican. Some radical woman named...
Mr. Aikman, I could listen to you all day.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to finish up. So you had people like Guy and Ann Bunker and Mark Fandrick, and then you had a guy like Ralph Stanbrook who came in later and said, do the right thing, Auburn. And we did. And so that's why we're here tonight. We know you care. We know you've got tough responsibilities. We're asking you to show the courage to say no. No more of this drilling gas wastewater. Thank you.
I appreciate the segue that I was just given. My name is Margaret McCaslin. I live on East Shore Drive in Lansing. I've started writing my address as East Shore of Cayuga Lake because we're all appreciating how important water is. In the early 70s, I taught public education policy at Cornell, but I lived in King Ferry, so I got that beautiful drive down the lake. Then in 1990, I became the original teacher at Peachtown Elementary School in Aurora, and I lived in Ithaca, so I got to drive up the lake. In between those two jobs, I was a communications specialist for the Water Resources Institute at Cornell, and I worked with communities with contaminated drinking water. And back then, the hydrologists I worked with thought that dilution was the solution to pollution. We really believed that. And what I just want to point out, given the rest of my talk was just given even better than I could have, is that a lot of the regulations and guidelines are out of date. Ecotoxicologists did not used to know that chemicals in the parts per billion are so biologically active in our bodies. And so that is something that is new information. They're understanding it more and more every year. And I'm sure that anybody consulted with here knew that parts per billions mattered, but they do. So I appreciate all of you taking into account these things we're unfortunately learning the hard way as you plan for the future. All our water is connected. I used to bring my son fishing in Lake Como and Montezuma and the Seneca River and everywhere, anywhere around this wonderful watershed we all save. So thank you.
Lived in central New York all my life. I'm also the executive director of a local preservation group there called the Citizens Observe the Character of Skaneateles, and we've, of course, been concentrating mostly on trying to just preserve the rural nature of the town of Skaneateles. But I'm also involved with a committee that the town board has appointed to research hydrofracking because they're looking very closely at trying to regulate it or ban it in the town, and we've done a lot of research and a lot of homework on this. I just wanted to echo the comments that have been made tonight. I think that obviously you're going to have to make a tough decision here. You've got to decide whether or not to believe the information that you've received from the gas companies or believe the information that a lot of the people have given you here tonight. And hopefully it's clear to you this side of the story. If I were you, I would be, if I were at least questioning this, if there was still any doubt in my mind, and I wouldn't blame you if you did have doubt in your mind, but I would blame you if you had doubt in your mind if you went ahead and let it keep on going. I think if you had doubt in your mind, then I would call for a moratorium or at least call a halt to this process until there was no doubt in your mind. So I would imagine that you're in that position right now where you have to make a decision. I'm hoping that you will, at the very least, if there's any shadow of a doubt in your mind, that you will say no to this now until you know better. Thank you very much.
Please pull that microphone a bit closer to yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. I am here to represent Auburn High School's Environmental Club as president, and I would just like to say that we care and that it's our future too. And I urge you to make the right decision and not allow to put the moratorium down on this law.
We do need your name for the record.
Miliana Dalashka. Thank you.
I've been cleared by security to speak today. Art Wenzel, 23 Westlake Avenue, just a long stone throw from here. And there's been a lot said today, and I just appreciate Honorable Mayor and the City Council for allowing everyone to be heard today. And I would publicly like to commend the Cayuga Anti-Fracking Alliance for the efforts they've made on behalf of this community. Remember, these petitions do work, individuals do work, one by one, but more importantly, send individual letters out to all your politicians and shake them up a little bit. Thank you so much.
Please.
I don't have anything prepared, but we've just learned about hydrofracking and environmental science. And we looked at the chemicals list, and we were surprised by most of the chemicals used, and most of them are cancer causing. And at the end, we watched a movie too, Gasland. It's a documentary by Josh Fox, I'm pretty sure that's his name. And at the end, we were talking, and we were so proud that New York State didn't allow it, and then we found. Sorry, I'm not really good at public speaking. But we found out that we had fracking fluid going into our plant, and we were really surprised and disappointed because we were so surprised by this documentary and the facts that my teacher showed us. And weeks before that, we did a water lab, and we tested the water in our area, and it was fair. It was very good for the country, and we're so proud. So I want to urge you, please don't do it, because we're very proud to live in Phoenix. Thank you.
We need your name for the record.
Mary Hutchins.
I'm sorry?
Mary Hutchins.
Thank you, Mary.
Stewart Ave. I'm not going to speak all about the dangers of hydrofracking. I'm up here to speak about accountability and about democracy. I was mistaken last week when I spoke here. I said that we're taking in industrial waste at the wastewater treatment plant. We do take in industrial waste, and we're darn glad to have it. They're from companies that have been here for a long time, and they're trusted partners in the city. Don't be mistaken. What I don't want to see us take and try to treat ineffectively is gas drilling wastewater. I feel very good that someone was accountable and made me aware of that mistake. So I'm up here to speak on it. Now, what I would ask others is to be accountable on getting informed. Get answers to the questions that you have, and then show up like you did today. Because that's how government works. That's the democracy part of this. We can't do it with just our elected officials alone. Others have said write letters, reach out, make phone calls, but get involved. Because if you want things to change, it starts here. Thank you.
I'm going to read a letter from about my friend wrote, Ashley Hurd. This is from her, and I have something to say also myself.
I need your name for the record.
My name is Robert Bush Jr. I live at 13 Church Street, Auburn, New York. P.O. Box 1224. This is Ashley Hurd, my friend. She lives at Parker Street. What number? 9 Parker Street. This is what she said I have to say. Hi, my name is Ashley Hurd. I think I lived in Auburn my whole life, and I think that water is good. That the chemicals should not be put in because the water it is disgusting because there are kids that have to drink the water. I think that you as the mayor should drink water. The water and tell us that it is safe to drink. Thank you, Ashley Hurd. Sorry about the handwriting. I don't know what to write. I believe that due to the medical history for family, friends, loved ones that I had passed in a long time, due to the animals, no matter whose animals it is, you may have animals, and everybody here has animals one way or another. I have birds, cats, dogs, all of them. I'm concerned about that, plus family, friends, boyfriend. Yes, I have a boyfriend. I will admit it. He's in prison right now. He gets out the day before my 30th birthday, which is going to be a good time because we're going to go party for my 30th birthday. And we already had that planned. So I think that due to that, the water history to everybody, that they shouldn't put anything into them and keep it as is. And I babysit friends, kids, I take them to school, everything, my cousins, every now and then. I have to drive my mom back and forth to work. To doctor's appointments and that, my whole family. So due to that, if I'm going to drink water, I don't want chemicals in it. And I'm not going to drink water, only Kool-Aid or soda or whatnot, due to the water chemical. So I hope you all understand that I'm looking out for everybody. And look at everybody that has allergies even.
Thank you.
And issues. Thank you.
My name is Terry Cuddy, 130 North Street. I'd like to address the implication and recent news stories that stopping the disposal of natural gas and water will negatively impact Cayuga County businesses. We obtained disposal records for 7 drilling companies for the year 2010 through the Freedom of Information Act. An analysis of those records indicate that most disposals originated in Chemung, Seneca, Tioga, and Steuben counties, with a small percentage of wells in Cayuga County. The driller with the most activity from Cayuga County, Chesapeake Energy, stated in a letter dated February 28, 2011, that they will not dispose of any produced water in the Auburn facility during the second quarter of 2011. in essence suspending shipments. I encourage you to do the same for the other 6 companies.
My name is Anita Williams, and I'm president of the Otisco Lake Preservation Association, and there's a number of us here from that association in support of what's happening here. We urge you to enact a moratorium.
I'm worried about the people that live downriver from us, the town of Troop, Port Byron, Weedsport. They're going to be left with some contaminants in the water near their houses, maybe in their wells. I do a lot of my fishing out of the county now because the water quality is getting worse. I just came from Limestone Creek. One of my friends, Doug, said, "Where are you?" I'm fishing in Limestone Creek right now for some beautiful trout. And they have to propagate the fish here. They have to stock the fish with a lot of fish around here to keep the fish going. And if there's any pollution, those fish will die. And try to catch a fish around here now, it's getting more and more scarce. I just hope that we have more fish for the kids to catch. My daughter asked me, what is fracking? It says when they put the chemicals in the ground and then they explode it and then the water bursts out of the ground, and she goes, what do they do with the water? I said, they bring it to Auburn. She goes, why? She goes, why do they bring it to Auburn? Why don't they bring it somewhere else? I said, well, it's the only place that we accept it. So hopefully we won't accept it anymore. And thank you.
I live at 48 Walnut Street. I've lived in Auburn my whole life. I'm proud to say that because of the beauty of the area. And when I found out what's going on at the treatment plant, it made me very angry, quite frankly. It's unacceptable for us to be taking this stuff for money. We owe it to the future generations that will live here and find Auburn and the surrounding area to live, to call it a nice place to live because of the water. We owe it to them, the children. You saw the children here. The mothers, the young kids, the high school students. Auburn is a nice place to live and in the future. And the short-term gain is not worth the long-term expense, as we've explained in previous speakers. So I urge you to do the right thing and put an end to accepting the natural gas drilling wastewater tonight.
Hopefully we can get some work done.